Alright, let's talk about something that's straight out of a superhero origin story, the Sons of Thunder. That's the nickname Jesus gave to his two disciples, James and John. But why? Were they throwing hands? Starting storms? Let's break it down. Jesus is picking up his 12 disciples, right? He gives Simon a new name, Peter, which means rock. Then he looks at James and John and says, "You two, you're the Sons of Thunder." That's not exactly the most peaceful sounding name for his disciples of a guy known as the Prince of Peace. Now, we don't get an explicit explanation in the Bible, but we do get some pretty big clues about their personalities. In Luke 9, verses 51 through 56, Jesus and his disciples are heading to Jerusalem. They pass through a Samaritan village, and the people there are not having it. They end up rejecting Jesus. James and John, they take it personally. They turn to Jesus and say, "Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" Yep, they wanted to nuke an entire village for being rude. Jesus, of course, shut them down immediately. He rebukes them and basically tells them, that's not how we do things. But that's intense, passionate, borderline explosive energy. That's probably where the Sons of Thunder nickname came from. There's another moment in Mark 10, verses 35 through 45, where James and John walk up to Jesus and say, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And Jesus is like, "Okay, what do you want?" And they go, "Grant that we may sit, one on your right and one on your left, in your glory." Basically, they want to be Jesus' top guys in heaven. Talk about bold. The other disciples get mad, but Jesus uses it as a lesson. Greatness in the kingdom comes through service, not power. Now here's the coolest part. Jesus doesn't shame them for their intensity. He doesn't tell them to be less passionate, he just redirects their passion. James, he becomes the first disciple to be martyred. John, he goes from wanting to burn a village down to writing about love more than anyone else in the New Testament. John, the once hot-tempered son of thunder, becomes the apostle of love. That's some serious character development. James and John were bold, intense, and sometimes reckless, but Jesus didn't push them away for it. He shaped them. Maybe you're passionate, but don't always channel it right. Maybe you get fired up and overreact. Jesus doesn't call perfect people. He calls people with potential. That same fire that made James and John hot-headed is the same fire that later made them fearless for the gospel. So, if you got some thunder in you, God can use that. Thanks for listening, and if you're enjoying Biblical Breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one.